Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In the turbulent era of the Three Kingdoms, Cao Cao shone like a dazzling yet controversial star. His life was marked by military campaigns across the land, controlling the emperor to command the warlords, wielding immense power in court and beyond. Yet, until the end of his days, he stopped short of proclaiming himself emperor, remaining as king of Wei. Behind this choice lay his keen insight into the political landscape and meticulous planning for the future, resembling a grand historical chess game of strategy and foresight. In the 13th year of Jianan, Cao Cao personally led a massive army southward, aiming to conquer eastern Wu and eliminate the separatist forces in the south, thus achieving his goal of unifying the realm. At that time, his army was at its peak. With Liu Biao of Jingzhou recently deceased and Lu Cong surrendering without resistance, the region was in turmoil. Witnessing his vast naval forces, Cao Cao recited the lines, "The Duke of Zhou humbly received talented men, all hearts turn to me," likely envisioning a grand scene of a unified empire under his rule, with the throne seemingly within reach. However, the Battle of Red Cliffs changed everything. The allied forces of Sun Quan and Liu Bei, leveraging the natural defenses of the Yangtze River and the favorable east wind, unleashed a devastating fire that reduced Cao Cao's fleet to ashes. Forced to retreat north, his march toward unification came to an abrupt halt. This defeat was not just a military setback but a major turning point in Cao Cao's path to becoming emperor. The battle foreshadowed the tripartite division of the realm, and Cao Cao realized that the changing dynamics made a proclamation of emperorship likely to provoke stronger resistance from all sides. His lament, "If I had a son like Sun Zhongmo," expressed both admiration for Sun Quan and his own unfulfilled ambitions. Though he never became emperor, Cao Cao was already the de facto ruler. As the chancellor and later king of Wei, he enjoyed unparalleled honors, exempt from formalities, entering the court without bowing, and carrying a sword in the imperial presence, privileges reminiscent of historical figures like Shao He and Hu Guang. Yet, why did he refrain from taking the final step? From a political perspective, despite the waning power of the Eastern Han, the idea of Han legitimacy remained deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people. Sun Yu, one of Cao Cao's early key advisors who had recommended many talents and provided invaluable strategies, staunchly opposed Cao Cao's elevation to the rank of Duke of Wei, holding firm to the belief in serving the emperor to fulfill the people's aspirations. Cao Cao understood that declaring himself emperor would place him in direct opposition to the Han dynasty, branding him as a traitor. This would subject him to harsh public criticism and trigger fierce resistance from Han loyalists, resulting in more harm than benefit. Moreover, powerful external adversaries surrounded him. Sun Quan of Eastern Wu had a well-established foundation in Jiangdong after 3 generations of efforts, while Liu Bei, under the banner of restoring the Han dynasty, implemented benevolent governance in Shu, winning popular support. If Cao Cao had rashly proclaimed himself emperor, these two forces would likely seize the opportunity to form another anti-Cao alliance akin to that of the Battle of Red Cliffs. The war-torn north, already ravaged by conflict, could once again plunge into chaos, threatening the very foundations that Cao Cao had painstakingly built. Cao Cao's decision not to claim the throne was, in essence, a calculated move to leave his son, Cao Pai, with a legacy that commanded widespread acceptance and authority. Cao Cao rose from humble beginnings, relying on extraordinary strategy and bold decisiveness to gather a group of brilliant civil and military officials who excelled in both combat and strategy. These loyalists devoted their lives to the Cao family, seeking nothing more than titles, wealth, and the prosperity of their descendants. During Cao Cao's lifetime, his personal prestige was enough to suppress various factions. However, if he were to proclaim himself emperor, the titles and rewards he could bestow would soon be exhausted. After Cao Cao's death, how would Cao Pai, his successor, reward these meritorious officials? By refraining from declaring emperor, Cao Pai could inherit Cao Cao's political legacy as the heir to the king of Wei. When the time was right, he could ascend to the throne under the guise of abdication, taking the imperial seat from the Han dynasty. This approach allowed for a smooth transition, resolving many conflicts with subtlety. On one hand, it preserved a semblance of dignity for the Han dynasty, preventing the immediate defection of nostalgic officials. On the other hand, it ensured that within his own camp, Cao Pi's succession of his father's legacy and subsequent establishment of a new dynasty would appear natural and justified, providing ample opportunities to reward his officials and stabilize the court. Internally, within the Cao Wei regime, Cao Cao's decision ensured a smooth transfer of power. After Cao Pi successfully succeeded as king of Wei, he was able to consolidate power methodically. Leveraging the prestige and networks his father had left behind, Cao Pi ultimately declared himself emperor through a relatively peaceful abdication process, avoiding the internal turmoil that might have erupted if Cao Cao had hastily proclaimed himself emperor. With the new dynasty established, the generals who supported the transition were rewarded, ensuring stability within the court and providing a secure rear for Cao Wei in the ongoing struggle for dominance during the Three Kingdoms period. From an ideological perspective, while Cao Cao did not claim the title of emperor, he quietly undermined the foundations of the Han dynasty's legitimacy. His long-standing strategy of holding the emperor hostage to command the warlords weakened the authority of the emperor. Over time, the people of the realm witnessed the decline of the Han dynasty and began to reassess the concept of legitimate rule. This ideological shift laid the psychological groundwork for future regime changes, allowing emerging powers to free themselves from the constraints of the old order. During the chaotic Wei, Jin, and southern and northern dynasties that followed, abdications became frequent. New regimes often justified their seizure of power by citing the moral decline of the previous dynasty and the transfer of the mandate of heaven. The acceptance of this model of political transition among the populace can be traced back to the disruption of Han orthodoxy during Cao Cao's time. In the realm of political culture, Cao Cao's actions created a distinctive model of a powerful minister governing the state. Future ambitious figures saw in Cao Cao a roadmap for consolidating real power, receiving supreme honors such as the 9 bestowments, and holding the rank of a king, while also learning from his patience in delaying imperial ambitions until the time was right. For example, Huan Xian, who sought to usurp the throne at the end of the Eastern Jin dynasty, emulated Cao Cao by first consolidating control over the court and gaining noble titles before attempting to claim the throne. Similarly, the founding emperors of the southern dynasties, Song, Qi, Liang, and Chen, borrowed elements of Cao Cao's strategy, building their strength within the framework of the old regime before establishing new dynasties when conditions were ripe. Looking back at this period in history, Cao Cao's decision was marked by great wisdom. Living in a time of chaos, he had to contend for supremacy in the Central Plains while also carefully considering political consequences and public sentiment. His choice not to declare himself emperor was not out of fear but a demonstration of profound strategic intelligence. In the 5th year of Jianan, 200 CE, Cao Cao defeated Yuan Shao and began extensive construction projects on the banks of the Zhang River in Yi. He built the Tongke Terrace, a structure 10 zhang high, approximately 30 meters, composed of 3 connected terraces, each separated by 60 steps and linked by flying bridges. In the 18th year of Jianan, 213 CE, Cao Cao constructed the Jinhu Terrace to the south of Tongke Terrace, followed in the next year, 214 CE, by the Bingjing Terrace to the north. Together, these were known as the Three Terraces. Tongke Terrace itself was equivalent to a modern 13-story building and featured a massive bronze sparrow atop its roof, seemingly in flight. Within the terrace, Cao Cao housed a large number of concubines and songstresses for his entertainment. That same year, he penned an important manifesto, the decree explaining my intentions regarding yielding the county, in which he stated that after his death, his concubines and singers should marry and spread his ideas to the world. At that time, Cao Cao's attitude toward women was twofold. he amassed many for his personal amusement, yet he was also open-minded and far-sighted. Upon moving into Tongkai Terrace, he considered arrangements for after his death, a gesture befitting a magnanimous figure. However, by the age of 66, his will took a different tone. He stated that over the past decade, his concubines and singers had worked hard, and after his death, they should remain in Tongkai Terrace and be well cared for. He further instructed that on the 1st and 15th day of every month, they should perform music and dances in his memory and ascend the terrace to gaze toward his tomb. Those with no other tasks were encouraged to learn crafts such as weaving ribbons and making shoes, which could be sold. By this time, his earlier idea of allowing the women to remarry was no longer mentioned. Instead, he envisioned them working to sustain his spirit. The contradictory evolution in Cao Cao's attitude toward women was highly personal and strikingly genuine. Cao Cao's principal wife, Lady Bian, was born in Beijing, Qi County, and was originally a song and dance performer. At the age of 20, she became a concubine of Cao Cao. After Cao Cao's first wife, Lady Ding, was deposed, Lady Bian rose to become the principal wife. She bore Cao Cao 3 sons, Cao Pai, Cao Ji, and Cao Xiong. Cao Cao's elevation of a former performer to the status of queen consort and lifelong companion was a rarity and reflects his unique disposition. Despite his many wives and concubines, as well as his retinue of performers, Cao Cao was never truly satisfied. When he accepted the surrender of Zhang Xiu, he took Zhang Xiu's aunt as his wife, which angered Zhang Xiu. Upon learning of Zhang Xiu's displeasure, Cao Cao attempted to kill him, but the plan was leaked, leading to Zhang Xiu's rebellion. This incident resulted in the deaths of Cao Cao's eldest son, Cao Ong, his nephew, Cao Anmin, and his trusted general, Dian Wei. Similarly, after Cao Cao and Liu Bei captured Xiapi, Guan Yu requested that Cao Cao grant him the wife of the enemy general Qini Lu. Lady Du. Cao Cao did not respond immediately, but when he saw Lady Du's beauty after Xiapi fell, he decided to take her for himself. Another beauty, Lady Yin, who was the daughter-in-law of the Grand General He Jin, was taken by Cao Cao after He Jin's assassination by eunuchs. Although Cao Cao was known for his love of women, he had standards when taking concubines. Most were widows or former wives divorced by others. Later generations composed a poem that captured this sentiment: all great heroes throughout history loved beauty, those who didn't were not true heroes. Cao Cao lavished affection on his concubines, but only under the condition that they served him obediently. Disobedience often resulted in death. On one occasion, a favored concubine was instructed to wake Cao Cao from his nap at a certain time. When she saw he was still soundly asleep, she refrained from waking him. Upon waking, Cao Cao immediately ordered her beaten to death with clubs. In another instance, a talented songstress who could both sing and play instruments disobeyed Cao Cao. Though Cao Cao wished to kill her, he delayed because her skills were unmatched. He then selected 100 individuals to train in music, and once a replacement of comparable talent was found, the disobedient songstress was executed. Such incidents reveal the harsh realities behind the seemingly glamorous laughter and charm within Tongkai Terrace. Nonetheless, whether it was allowing women to remarry or encouraging them to engage in labor, Cao Cao's practices marked progress compared to the cruel custom of burying women alive as sacrifices. For instance, during the same era, Sun Quan ordered the execution of General Chen Wu's concubine to accompany him in death after Chen died in battle at Hefei. In comparison, Cao Cao's treatment of women was notably more humane. According to Chinese historical records, Cao Cao fathered 25 sons in his lifetime, among whom 3 were particularly well known: Wei Emperor Cao Pai, the literary figure Cao Ji, and the prodigy Cao Chong, who famously measured an elephant at the age of 7. Although Cao Cao is remembered as one of history's most cunning and ambitious figures, his abilities in raising and nurturing his children are undeniably admirable and worthy of study. Not only were the three aforementioned sons exceptionally talented, but Cao Cao's daughters were also remarkable, renowned for their stunning beauty and exceptional intellect. They became highly sought-after brides among the elite families of the time. Given Cao Cao's significant social standing, even in a society where men could take multiple wives and concubines, his daughters were expected to marry into prominent families as first wives. Yet, he married off 3 of his daughters to the same husband. Why would he make such an unusual choice? This question leads us to the emperor of the time, Emperor Xian of Han, Lu Xie. Lu Xie is regarded as one of the most tragic emperors in Chinese history. During his reign, he remained a puppet controlled by others, eventually being forced to abdicate by Cao Pai. What's puzzling is that despite Lu Xie spending much of his life as a puppet emperor, Cao Cao willingly married off his 3 beloved daughters to him. Even after Lu Xie was forced to abdicate, he remarkably lived out his life in peace and died a natural death. Lu Xie was the second son of Emperor Ling of Han, Lu Hong. After Lu Xie's biological mother was poisoned by Empress He, Emperor Ling dared not punish her and instead had Lu Xie raised in the palace of Empress Dowager Dong. At the age of 9, Lu Xie was installed as Emperor Xian of Han by the warlord Dong Zhuo, becoming a puppet ruler. Although Dong Zhuo was later killed by Lu Bu, Lu Xie fell under the control of warlords Li Ju and Guo Si, who eventually turned against each other and burned down the imperial palace during their conflict. Lu Xie narrowly escaped death by starvation during this turmoil. It was at this juncture that Cao Cao stepped in to assist Lu Xie. While Cao Cao had his own ambitions and sought to use Lu Xie to consolidate power, Lu Xie initially regarded Cao Cao as a savior, trusting him completely. Unfortunately, Lu Xie's trust was misplaced. Over time, he realized that Cao Cao was not the beacon of light he had hoped for but rather a more cunning version of Dong Zhuo. Lu Xie remained the same puppet emperor he had been at the age of 9. Despite this, Lu Xie was unwilling to remain a puppet for life and yearned for real power. He conspired with his favored consort, Lady Dong, and her father, Dong Cheng, along with other high-ranking officials, to plot the assassination of Cao Cao. However, the plot was discovered by Cao Cao before it could be carried out. All those involved, including the pregnant Lady Dong, were executed. Strangely enough, Lu Xie himself, the mastermind behind the conspiracy, emerged completely unscathed. In fact, Cao Cao went on to marry off his 3 daughters to Lu Xie as consorts. After witnessing Cao Cao's ruthless actions, Empress Fu became terrified, fearing that one day she might meet the same fate as consort Dong, who had been executed by Cao Cao. She secretly wrote to her father, Fu Wan, pleading with him to find a way to eliminate Cao Cao. However, constrained by Cao Cao's overwhelming power, Fu Wan dared not act. In 214 AD, when Cao Cao discovered the plot, he ordered the execution of over 100 members of the Fu family, including Empress Fu and her 2 sons. Not stopping there, Cao Cao demanded that Emperor Xian of Han, Lu Xie, appoint his daughter Cao Jie as the new empress. In ancient times, women primarily served 2 roles, continuing the family lineage and being tools of political alliances. Although Cao Cao felt that Lu Xie was neither capable nor worthy of his daughters, he married his daughters, Cao Jie, Cao Xian, and Cao Hua, to Lu Xie to consolidate his power. At the time, Cao Hua was still young and had to wait until she grew older to marry. Faced with Cao Cao's arrangements, Lu Xie dared not oppose him. This move made Cao Cao's control over the emperor more legitimate, while having his daughters in the imperial harem ensured that Lu Xie's every move was effectively under his surveillance. Additionally, as the emperor's father-in-law and with 3 daughters in the palace, Cao Cao became the most powerful imperial relative. This arrangement eliminated the possibility of another consort Dong or Empress Fu rising to influence the emperor and also prevented other imperial relatives from competing with him for power. However, even the shrewdest plans cannot account for everything. Cao Cao never anticipated that his daughter Cao Jia would genuinely fall in love with Lu Xia after marrying him. She often opposed her father in secret and refused to continue monitoring Lu Xia as she once did. Cao Cao was deeply dissatisfied but could do nothing about it. After all, Cao Jia was his own daughter, and no matter how angry he became, he could not treat her as he had treated Consort Dong or Empress Fu. In 220 AD, after Cao Cao's death, Lu Xia finally felt some relief, believing that his greatest adversary was gone. However, he soon realized that his real threat was not Cao Cao but Cao Cao's son, Cao Pai. After Cao Cao's death, Cao Pai sent emissaries to pressure Lu Xia into abdicating. Cao Jia, determined to defend Lu Xia, publicly berated Cao Pai's envoy. Unfortunately, Cao Pai's power was too great, and he used military force to coerce Lu Xia into stepping down. Cao Jia was powerless to stop him. Under Cao Pai's pressure, Lu Xia was forced to issue an abdication edict. However, unlike many other emperors in history who were deposed and then killed, Lu Xia was allowed to live. He and Cao Jia spent the rest of their lives together in peace and lived to old age. Initially, Cao Pai had intended to kill Lu Xia to solidify his reign. However, due to his sister Cao Jia's tireless defense of Lu Xia, he spared his life and granted him the title of Duke of Shanyang. Together, Lu Xia and Cao Jia dedicated themselves to helping the poor, living as a benevolent and harmonious couple until their natural deaths. To this day, a mural known as the Han Emperor Xian practicing medicine depicts their story and remains carved into local stone, admired by many. In 234 AD, Lu Xia passed away and was buried with the full honors of an emperor in Chonling. When Cao Jia died in 260 AD, she was buried alongside Lu Xia, with the ceremonial rites befitting an empress. As for Cao Xian and Cao Hua, their fates remain unknown, as historical records provide few details. Some speculate that after Lu Xia was deposed, the two sisters chose not to follow him into his diminished status and remained in the capital instead. Ultimately, though Lu Xia spent much of his life as a puppet emperor, he was fortunate to marry Cao Jia, who genuinely loved and protected him. For Cao Jia, while her marriage was not of her choosing, among her sisters, she led the happiest life. Life is full of unpredictability, but to share one's days with someone and grow old together is more than enough. This is History and Culture Channel. Producing videos isn't easy. Like and subscribe are the biggest help and support for us. Thank you everyone. See you next time.